Arthur was lounging on the couch, flipping through a magazine, when the door burst open with a dramatic flourish. Jeff the Demon stood in the doorway, his eyes gleaming with excitement, a grin stretching across his face. "Arthur, I've got it! The perfect idea for our next adventure," Jeff exclaimed, practically vibrating with enthusiasm. Arthur set the magazine down, already bracing himself for whatever wild scheme Jeff had come up with this time. "All right, Jeff, hit me with it. What's the plan?" "Las Vegas," Jeff announced, throwing his arms wide as if revealing some grand revelation. "The city of lights. The place where dreams are made and fortunes are won. We've got to go." Arthur blinked, caught off guard by the suggestion. "Las Vegas? Seriously?" "Yes, seriously." Jeff nodded vigorously. "I overheard some people talking about it, and it sounds like the most magical place on Earth. There are bright lights, endless entertainment." Arthur chuckled, though he couldn't help feeling a bit apprehensive. "I don't know, Jeff. Vegas is a lot. It's loud, crowded, and, well, pretty overwhelming. Are you sure you're ready for something like that?" Jeff waved off Arthur's concerns with a flick of his hand. "Overwhelming? Please, I thrive in chaos. Besides, how could I possibly resist a place that's basically one big shiny adventure waiting to happen?" Arthur sighed, realizing that there was no stopping Jeff once he set his mind to something. All right, we'll go. But you have to promise to take it easy, okay? No wild magic, no causing scenes." Jeff grinned even wider, if that was possible. "Scout's honor. I'll be the model of self-control. You won't even know I'm there." Arthur highly doubted that, but he couldn't help but smile at Jeff's infectious excitement. "All right then, Vegas it is. Let's get ready." The next day, Arthur was packing for their trip in a methodical, practical manner. A few changes of clothes, toiletries, a pair of comfortable shoes. Just the basics. Meanwhile, Jeff was in his room, making considerably more noise. Curious, Arthur peeked into Jeff's room and immediately regretted it. The place looked like a tornado had blown through it. Clothes were strewn everywhere, and Jeff was in the middle of it all, tossing things into an enormous suitcase that looked like it belonged in a fantasy novel. "What exactly are you packing, Jeff?" Arthur asked, leaning against the doorframe. Jeff looked up, holding a tuxedo in one hand and a deck of cards in the other. "Well, I heard that Las Vegas is a fancy place, so I'm bringing my best suit. Gotta blend in, you know? And these cards, every gambler needs a deck, right? Plus, they're enchanted, just in case we run into any trouble." Arthur sighed. "Jeff, you don't need a tuxedo to walk around the strip. And please tell me you're not planning to use those cards to cheat." Jeff gave him a wide-eyed look of innocence. "Who? Me? Cheat? Never. These are purely for entertainment purposes. And look." He reached into the suitcase and pulled out a large rabbit's foot, complete with fur and a little bit of rabbit still attached. A lucky charm. It's from a real rabbit, much to my surprise. Arthur winced. "Please tell me that didn't come from a living rabbit recently." Jeff grinned. "Of course not. I found it in an old trunk in the attic. It's vintage." Arthur rubbed his temples. "Jeff, I'm going to pack for you too, all right? Let's stick to the essentials. Clothes, toiletries, maybe some snacks." Jeff pouted, but eventually relented. "Fine, but I'm keeping the tuxedo. I have a feeling we're going to need it." With the packing fiasco behind them, Arthur and Jeff set off on their road trip to Las Vegas. The drive was filled with Jeff's usual chatter, which, as always, veered wildly from topic to topic. "So, do you think we'll see any actual magicians in Vegas?" Jeff asked, fiddling with the car's radio. "Like, ones that can pull rabbits out of hats or make entire buildings disappear?" "Probably not," Arthur replied, focusing on the road. "Most of the magic acts are just tricks and illusions. It's all about the spectacle." Jeff hummed thoughtfully. Well, maybe I'll show them a few tricks of my own. Nothing too crazy, of course." Arthur shot him a warning look. "Jeff, remember what we talked about. No magic. We're going to have fun, not cause a scene." Jeff grinned, his yellow eyes sparkling mischievously. "No scenes, got it. But what about small-scale shenanigans? You know, just a little harmless fun?" Arthur sighed. "Let's just focus on enjoying the trip, okay? I'm sure there will be plenty to keep you entertained without any shenanigans." As they neared Las Vegas, the bright lights of the city came into view, illuminating the night sky. Jeff's excitement grew with every mile, and by the time they reached the city limits, he was practically bouncing in his seat. "There it is, Arthur! The magical city of Las Vegas!" Jeff exclaimed, pointing out the window. "Let the adventure begin." Arthur couldn't help but smile. Despite his concerns, he was looking forward to seeing how Jeff would handle the craziness of Las Vegas. Whatever happened, it was sure to be an adventure. They drove down the famous Las Vegas Strip, the neon lights reflecting off the car's windows, the streets alive with energy and noise. Jeff's eyes were wide with wonder as he took in the sights, his head swiveling to catch every dazzling display. "This is incredible," Jeff shouted over the noise. "Look at all the lights, and the people. It's like a carnival, but bigger. I can't wait to explore." Arthur pulled into the parking lot of their hotel, already mentally preparing himself for whatever chaos might ensue. "All right, Jeff. Let's check in, get settled, and then we can start exploring." Jeff nodded eagerly, his grin never fading. "This is going to be the best trip ever, Arthur. Just wait and see." As they entered the hotel, Jeff's excitement was palpable, and Arthur knew that their Las Vegas adventure was just beginning. With Jeff around, there was no telling what kind of wild, hilarious, and unforgettable experiences awaited them in Sin City. The moment they stepped out of the hotel, Jeff was overwhelmed by the sights and sounds of Las Vegas. The flashing neon lights, the constant hum of activity, and the sheer number of people bustling around had his head spinning with excitement. "Arthur, this place is amazing," Jeff exclaimed, spinning around to take in the view. "It's like a giant party that never stops." Arthur grinned, though he kept a watchful eye on his demonic friend. "Yeah, it's something all right. But remember, Jeff, we're here to have fun, not cause chaos." Jeff nodded enthusiastically, though Arthur knew that advice would likely be forgotten the moment Jeff got too excited. "Got it! Fun without chaos. Now, where do we start?" They began their adventure by walking down the famous Las Vegas Strip. Jeff was like a kid in a candy store, darting from one spectacle to the next, his eyes wide with wonder. Their first stop was a street performer dressed as a wizard, complete with a flowing robe and pointy hat. Jeff, convinced that the performer was a real wizard, immediately approached him. "Greetings, mighty sorcerer," Jeff said, bowing theatrically. "I, too, dabble in the arcane arts. Perhaps we could exchange spells?" The performer, clearly used to all sorts of characters on the strip, played along with a flourish of his hand. "Ah, I see I've encountered a fellow practitioner of the magical arts. What spell do you wish to cast?" Jeff's eyes lit up. "How about a transmutation spell? I can turn a coin into a frog." Arthur, sensing danger, quickly intervened. Jeff, how about we just watch the show instead?" Jeff, momentarily distracted, nodded. "Oh, right. A show. Yes, let's do that." As they moved on, Arthur sighed in relief. "Remember, Jeff, no actual magic." Right. No real magic, just fun," Jeff replied, still bouncing with energy. They continued down the strip, where Jeff's antics only escalated. He attempted to strike up a conversation with a man dressed as Elvis, convinced he was the real deal. He tried to make a deal with a character dressed as a superhero, thinking they were on a secret mission. And when they passed a fountain, Jeff tossed in a coin and made an exaggerated wish for endless adventures and a lifetime supply of tacos. Arthur couldn't help but chuckle at Jeff's boundless enthusiasm, though he kept a close eye on him, ready to step in before things got too out of hand. Their next stop was one of the grand casinos that lined the strip. As they stepped inside, Jeff's eyes widened even further, if that was possible. The flashing lights, the sound of slot machines clinking, and the energy of the casino floor were almost too much for him to handle. "This place, it's incredible," Jeff breathed, staring around in awe. "It's like a magical kingdom, but with more flashing lights and way more noise." Arthur chuckled. "It's definitely something. Just remember, Jeff, it's all about having fun. Don't get too caught up in trying to win big." Jeff nodded, though Arthur suspected his advice had already been forgotten. "Don't worry, Arthur. I've got a foolproof system for winning." Arthur raised an eyebrow. "And what system would that be?" Jeff pulled out his enchanted deck of cards with a sly grin. "These babies, I've enchanted them to be extra lucky. But don't worry, I won't use them to cheat. just to give me a little edge. Arthur sighed, knowing that arguing would be pointless. All right, Jeff. Just try not to lose too much, okay? Jeff waved off the concern. Trust me, Arthur. Lady Luck and I are on the same wavelength. They started with the slot machines, where Jeff's system quickly became apparent. He pressed buttons at random, pulling the lever with great gusto and proclaiming each spin as the one that's going to change everything. To Arthur's surprise, Jeff actually managed to win a small jackpot on one of the machines. The lights flashed, and coins clattered out as Jeff whooped in delight. "Arthur! I did it! I won!" Jeff exclaimed, gathering up his winnings. Arthur smiled, genuinely happy for his friend. "Nice work, Jeff. Now how about we take those winnings and call it a night?" But Jeff was far from done. "Are you kidding? I've only just started. Let's try something a bit more challenging." They moved on to the roulette table, where Jeff's strategy involved betting on whatever number felt lucky in the moment. This, of course, led to a series of unpredictable wins and losses, with Jeff reacting to each outcome with the same level of excitement, regardless of whether he won or lost. At one point, Jeff decided to place a bet on red simply because his skin was red. "It's a sign, Arthur. Red's my color, so it has to win." To Arthur's surprise and Jeff's delight, red did indeed win, and Jeff's enthusiasm reached new heights. "You see? The system works," Jeff declared, oblivious to the fact that his so-called system was little more than sheer luck. Arthur, however, was keeping a close eye on their overall funds, and when Jeff's luck began to turn, he stepped in. "All right, Jeff, I think we've had enough excitement for one night. Let's cash out and find something else to do." Jeff, still buzzing from the thrill of the casino, reluctantly agreed. Okay, but that was amazing. I can't wait to do it again tomorrow." As they cashed out, Jeff couldn't resist one last gamble. On a whim, he decided to try a single spin on a high-stakes slot machine near the exit. "Just one more, Arthur. I can feel it in my bones," Jeff said, confidently pulling the lever. To both their shock, the machine lit up with a series of flashing lights, signaling a massive win. Jeff's eyes widened in disbelief as the machine began spewing out coins at an alarming rate. I did it. I really did it," Jeff shouted, barely able to contain his excitement. Arthur, equally stunned, quickly helped Jeff gather up the winnings. "I can't believe it. You actually won big." Jeff beamed, his face practically glowing. This is the best day ever. However, as they were walking away, pockets full of coins, Jeff couldn't resist one more spin, just to see if his luck would hold. Unfortunately, it didn't. The machine immediately swallowed up most of his winnings, leaving Jeff staring at it in shock. Arthur placed a hand on Jeff's shoulder. "That's how it goes, Jeff. You win some, you lose some. But hey, at least you had fun, right?" Jeff, recovering quickly, nodded. "You're right, Arthur. It's not about the money. It's about the adventure, and we're just getting started." With that, they left the casino, Jeff still buzzing with energy despite the ups and downs of the night. Arthur, though tired, couldn't help but smile. Jeff's enthusiasm was contagious, and despite the chaos, he was glad they'd come to Las Vegas. As they walked back to their hotel, the neon lights of the Strip lighting their way, Arthur wondered what other adventures awaited them in the city that never sleeps. Whatever happened, he knew it would be an experience they'd never forget. After a night full of casino antics and unexpected wins and losses, Arthur decided it was time to experience another side of Las Vegas, the famous live shows. He thought it might be a good way to give them both a break from the chaos of the casino floors. Jeff, however, had different expectations. "Arthur, what kind of magic show are we seeing?" Jeff asked as they made their way to the theater. His eyes were wide with anticipation, practically sparkling. "I heard about this thing called Cirque du Soleil. It's got to be a secret society of magicians, right? Like, real magic?" Arthur chuckled, knowing Jeff was in for a surprise. "Not exactly, Jeff. It's more of an acrobatic show with a lot of amazing stunts and performances. No real magic, but it's definitely impressive." Jeff looked slightly disappointed, but quickly perked up. "Well, if they're acrobats, they've got to have some magical abilities. I mean, how else could they do all those flips and jumps?" Arthur smiled, deciding it was best to let Jeff keep his theories. After all, The show was known for its otherworldly feel, and who was he to ruin Jeff's fun? They entered the Grand Theater, which was dimly lit and already buzzing with excitement. The stage was a masterpiece of intricate designs and props, hinting at the spectacular performance to come. Jeff was practically vibrating with excitement, unable to stay still as they found their seats. As the show began, Jeff was immediately entranced. The performers seemed to defy gravity, flipping and twirling through the air with grace and precision. Jeff leaned forward in his seat, his eyes glued to the stage, convinced that he was witnessing real magic. "This is incredible, Arthur," Jeff whispered, his voice filled with awe. "I knew it. These people are definitely wizards or something." Arthur just smiled, enjoying the show but keeping a watchful eye on Jeff, knowing that his friend's excitement could easily spill over into something more interactive. As the performance continued, Jeff became more and more convinced that the performers were using magic. When a performer disappeared in a puff of smoke, only to reappear on the other side of the stage, Jeff gasped and clapped his hands together in delight. "I knew it. They're teleporting. I wonder if they could teach me that trick," Jeff mused aloud. Arthur, trying not to laugh, leaned over. "Just enjoy the show, Jeff. Let's not get involved, okay?" Jeff nodded, though he didn't take his eyes off the stage. Okay. But if they need a volunteer, I'm totally going up there." As fate would have it, the opportunity for Jeff to get involved came sooner than Arthur anticipated. During a particularly impressive act, one of the performers called out to the audience, asking for a volunteer. Jeff's hand shot up before Arthur could even react. "Pick me! Pick me!" The performer, amused by Jeff's enthusiasm, gestured for him to come up on stage. Arthur's stomach dropped, knowing that this could either be hilarious or disastrous, possibly both. Jeff practically bounced up to the stage, grinning from ear to ear. The performer handed him a prop, a large ring, and instructed him to hold it up as they performed an acrobatic trick through it. Jeff, however, couldn't resist adding his own flair to the act. As the acrobat prepared to leap through the ring, Jeff muttered a few words under his breath, and the ring began to glow faintly. The crowd gasped, thinking it was part of the act, but Arthur knew better. The acrobats sailed through the ring with ease, and as they landed, Jeff decided to show off just a little more. He gave the ring a playful toss into the air, and instead of falling back to the ground, it hovered there, spinning gently. The audience erupted in applause, thinking it was all part of the show, while the performers exchanged bewildered glances. Jeff, still grinning, gave the ring a little nudge, sending it floating back down to the performer. Thank you. I'll be here all week," Jeff declared, bowing dramatically as he handed the ring back. The performers, ever the professionals, quickly recovered and finished the act with flair, incorporating Jeff's contribution as seamlessly as they could. Arthur, meanwhile, was torn between laughing and cringing. After the show, the performers invited Jeff backstage, intrigued by his unexpected assistance. Arthur followed, dreading what might happen next. Backstage, Jeff was greeted like a celebrity, the performers congratulating him on his talent. Jeff, still convinced that they were all fellow magic users, was more than happy to share some of his tricks. "So, how did you learn to teleport like that?" Jeff asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Was it a spell you mastered, or did you discover a secret portal?" The lead performer, playing along, smiled. "Oh, it's all in the training. Years of practice and discipline, but your floating ring trick, that was something special. Where'd you learn that?" Jeff puffed out his chest proudly. Just a little something I picked up over the years. You know, dabbling in the arcane arts and all that." Arthur, who had been trying to stay in the background, finally stepped forward. "Jeff, I think it's time we let these folks get back to their work. We've got plenty of other things to see in Vegas." Jeff reluctantly agreed, shaking hands with the performers and promising to visit again. As they left, Jeff turned to Arthur with a wide grin. "Did you see that, Arthur? They totally bought it. I'm pretty sure they're going to invite me to join their magical society any day now." Arthur shook his head, amused despite himself. "Yeah, I'm sure they are, Jeff. But let's stick to enjoying the sights for now, all right?" As their time in Las Vegas drew to a close, Arthur and Jeff took a moment to reflect on their whirlwind adventure. Sitting on a bench overlooking the Strip, the bright lights of the city twinkling in the distance, Jeff let out a contented sigh. This has been the best trip ever, Arthur. I won big at the casino, helped out some fellow magicians, and saw some of the most incredible sights. What more could you ask for? Arthur smiled, leaning back and taking in the view. It's definitely been something, Jeff. And despite the chaos, I'm glad we came. You certainly made Vegas memorable. Jeff beamed, already thinking about their next adventure. So, what's next? Maybe we could visit Area 51 and see if those alien rumors are true. Or how about searching for buried treasure in the desert? Arthur chuckled, shaking his head. How about we just get some rest first? Then we can talk about our next adventure. Jeff nodded, though Arthur could tell his mind was already racing with ideas. All right, rest first, but then, the sky's the limit. As they made their way back to the hotel for one last night in Las Vegas, Arthur couldn't help but smile. With Jeff around, every trip was an adventure, full of laughter, surprises, and memories they'd cherish forever. Las Vegas had been no exception, and Arthur knew that whatever came next, it was sure to be just as wild and wonderful.